Okay, time for a new video. Welcome back to my channel, or hello if you're new. This is yet another Junior Eurovision 2025 related video here on my channel, and today I am going to be reviewing this year's edition of the JESC, which at the time of recording this video you're watching now took place last Saturday in Tbilisi, Georgia. 18 countries were involved. Anybody around the world could vote alongside the national juries, and once those votes were combined, France came out on top yet again. As always, you're welcome to let me know your thoughts on anything I discuss in today's video by leaving a comment down below, and as always there are links in the description to my other social media pages. Check them out if you so wish. So I do have a document loaded up here and ready to go, because as the show was taking place last weekend I was typing up a few notes here and there about the performances, because I knew that I would be sitting down to film this video at some point. Really, I'm just going to go through each performance one by one, give you my thoughts on what I saw and heard, and I will also go through how accurate I was with my very rough prediction, which I mentioned in my preview video last week, and I will also tell you my current rough updated ranking of this year's field. So with that being said, I shall begin with Malta, but I will also say that I watched the show on YouTube because it is not broadcast on British television, because we're not taking part, which is a great shame. There's no real point talking about the opening act or the interval act, because I wasn't really paying a great deal of attention, truth be told. In terms of the hosts, whose names were David Aladashvili and Lisa Siklauri, they were okay, I guess. Maybe stumbled a bit over the auto cue, but it's live television, so it's not really much of a surprise. Anyway, enough about that. Let's focus on the actual tunes. Beginning with Malta, Song 1, I Believe, by Eliza Borg. This finished 11th with 92 points, sort of as expected. A very safe effort indeed, and I said in my preview video about Junior Eurovision and how many of the songs we get year after year after year are playing it very safe, lyrically quite cliched, perhaps a little bit on the cheesy side. It's all fairly predictable how everything comes together on stage, but this is not really an issue. It's really not a problem at all. Maybe at the adult competition, yes, it's a bit of a shame, but at the junior event, I don't think anybody really minds too much. And this Maltese track, I think most people who were familiar with the tracks anyway were not expecting this song to win. They weren't expecting Malta to finish last, so 11th place is sort of as we all expected. Malta were 9th in the jury vote and last, admittedly, in the online vote, which is a bit of a shame, but there we are. Somebody has to finish last. Malta received a high mark of 12 out of the blue from the Armenian jury, and you can see the exact jury results online. I have not looked at them yet myself. I suppose it doesn't really matter. What I've put here is that Eliza started off in bed, and then that bed seemingly disappeared. I don't know what happened to it. Can't quite remember. We had a lot of starry scenes on the backdrop, musical notes at one point, blue lighting. I would say at the start it was maybe a tad shaky, but then she really grew in confidence and she was hitting those big notes. And I have to say, and this is applicable to all of the artists this year, credit where credit is due. It takes a lot of guts to go out there on a fairly big stage with a crowd in front of you and lots of people watching at home, and maybe there's a little bit of pressure on your shoulders. You're representing your country at such a young age, and I'm sure they are all a little bit nervous just before they go out there and sing their hearts out. But they all did a pretty splendid job. Credit where credit is due. This was really fine. It really was. It was just playing it very safe, and I certainly was not expecting this to challenge for the win at all, so it came to be. At one point, the graphic on the stage floor crapped out for a few seconds. Don't know if anybody else noticed that, but I did. We had a sort of laser effect. We had a bit of pyro at the end. We had on-screen words appearing. You know what I'm on about if you've seen the performance. It was all fine, and I have nothing else really to say about it. Moving on to Song 2, this was Azerbaijan. Well, I really enjoyed this. I had a feeling I would. It was just quite enjoyable from start to finish. This was Meow Meow, meaning meow meow, by Yagmur. This finished 15th with 66 points. 15th in the jury vote with 12 points, joint 8th in the online vote with 54 points, which is not too bad. But like I said a moment ago, 15th overall, a high mark of 7 from the Maltese jury, clearly fans of cats. What have I written here? Bit of a smoke machine. A lot of performances this year had the smoke machine kicking in. Yağmur was in black and purple attire. There was a bit of choreography, but it wasn't over the top. It didn't feel like a distraction. If anything, it was quite pared back. They went for a sort of urban, gritty look. We had neon graffiti effects on the backdrop as well. Yağmur was wearing a purple glove, which I only really noticed towards the end. She discarded the jacket and was wearing this sort of pink sparkly top. Lots of bins on stage. The dancers doing their thing. Big cheers at the end, which was nice to hear. And definitely one of my favourites of the year. Had this been on a bit later in the running order, would it have really fared a lot better in the results? I doubt it. In the end, as I've said twice now, 15th place, 66 points. We move on to song 3, which was the Croatian entry. Well, I didn't think much of this, I've got to be honest with you, coming into last Saturday's show. But the live performance was really quite pleasant, can't fault it at all. This was Marino Vergoc with Snowy, which I think means dreams, but don't quote me on that. Anyway, he finished 14th with 70 points, 13th in the jury vote with 28 points, and 14th in the online vote with 42 points. He received a high mark of 10 from the North Macedonian jury. I have written here we had some on-screen star effects. He was in a sort of white suit. Smoke machine was kicking in. He was surrounded by lights that were on sticks. That's what it looked like. It was quite nice. All really simple. Really simple. They probably came up with the staging concept in 5 minutes. It was that simplistic. It built up slightly, nice vocals, pleasant song, but just doesn't stand out much. And then towards the end, in the final third, there was all of this fake snow blowing in front of his face, which I suppose was quite nice. He gave it a good go. The result, though, was as expected. Moving on to song 4, San Marino. Well, I'm really glad this fared as well as it did in the end. 9th place, 125 points. San Marino's best result in the adult or junior competition to date, so that has to be celebrated. 3rd in the online vote, 87 points. Really great. I did see a few comments here and there in the build-up to last weekend's show from individuals online saying that they were going to vote for this. So, indeed, a lot of people did decide to vote for this one. This was Martina CRV with Beyond the Stars. 11th in the jury vote, 38 points, a high mark of 7 from the Azerbaijani jury. So there she was, Martina. Cowboy boots, cowboy hat, sparkly dress, sparkly guitar. She started off and indeed finished the performance sitting on this moon that looked as though it was made of tinfoil. The smoke machine was there again, because of course it was. I think they just left it running for the whole show, to be honest with you. Vocally pretty good. Is it all engaging enough to get votes? Question mark. I typed here. Well, clearly the public thought it was engaging enough. And if anything, we don't really get too many songs like this at all, at either the adult or junior competition, so I do think it was a very welcome breath of fresh air. In terms of what was happening graphically on the backdrop behind her, there was quite a lot going on. Towards the end, you had like her name and signs, the idea that she's made it big, that sort of thing. Fairly confidently executed, and they went for a little bit of a neon look with some of it as well, which was also a bit of a running theme this year, it has to be said. I have nothing else to add. Really, really nice, and vocally very fine indeed. Moving on to song 5, Armenia. Well, this was one of the hot favourites. Albert with Braveheart, 4th in the end, 175 points. Really close between 2nd and 4th, it's worth saying. Just 1 point between all 3 of them. 3rd in the jury vote, 117 points. 6th in the online vote, 58 points. Armenia did get 12 from Malta's jury, Ukraine's jury, and Georgia's jury. Nothing from Italy, the only country to blank this one. It's a very, very fine ballad. I think I said in my preview video it has a filmic quality to it. And watching it on Saturday night, I thought the same thing. This could really work well in a movie during a sort of dramatic, tension-filled scene, or an animated film, absolutely. There he was, Albert, didn't really move about, white outfit, and then this sort of yellow, orange-type neckerchief that was sticking out from his neck. And at times, they went for this washed-out look to the performance. Again, you'll know what I'm on about if you've seen it. A very sort of greyed-out, washed-out look. He was surrounded by stars on sticks. So I think they just used the same little patch that they had for Croatia and changed the lights for the stars. Maybe, maybe not, doesn't really matter. Yes, there was the smoke machine kicking in again. It's a really beautiful melody. This soaring, slightly urgent chorus. Absolutely, that's the way that I would describe it. It's just like you're, floating in the air. And it's this soaring melody. You know what I'm on about here. It was just really nice. But at the end of it, I thought, I don't know whether that's really winning material. But it'll come close, and indeed that's exactly what happened. I have nothing else to add about that one. Vocally really good. Moving on now to Ukraine. Oh boy, this was really, really good. Bang, 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 and so on. This was, of course, Sofia Nersessian with Motanka, and I said in my preview video that I didn't really know what Motanka meant, and I probably should have realised this much sooner, but it's a type of doll, and Sofia was there in the green room holding said doll, I believe. Anyway, this won the online vote, and I did vote for this myself. 98 points, a narrow public/online vote win. 6th in the jury vote, 79 points. 2nd overall, Ukraine's best result for a long time. They've only won this competition once, I believe. 177 points in total, and a high mark of 10 from the Montenegro jury and the San Marino jury. This was just so good. Like with so many Ukrainian entries, particularly at the adult competition, in a league of its own, standing out, sounding unlike anything else in the lineup, really arresting the sound, grabs your attention straight away. She was in a red and white outfit, had dancers. At one point, those dancers were pushing large balls of string. At one point, we had Sofia's figure and face on the backdrop. I'm not a huge fan of things like that. It does seem to happen every year, once or twice, in both the junior and adult competitions. But anyway, that's by the by. The whole thing was really strong. Vocally, really impressive. She was really going for it, hitting those big notes. Should be up there challenging for the win. So it came to be. We had the on-screen rain effect, this moody dark red lighting. I just thought it was really successful from start to finish, and absolutely a song that I think I'll still be listening to this time next year. On and off, maybe. After Ukraine, we move on to Ireland. Last place for this. Now, Ireland finished last 2 years ago, was it? With a ballad, and now they've finished last again with a ballad. And apart from Solas a few years ago by Sophie Lennon, really great song, Ireland, who've been competing for a decade now, they've never really set Junior Eurovision alight. They have struggled more often than not, which is a real shame, because I usually like their entries very much. I'd love to see them win this, but they look really far away from it at this moment in time. This was Lottie O'Driscoll Murray with Rune, which means secrets, I believe. Last place, 44 points. 17th in the jury vote, 3 points. That's really baffling to me. Joint 15th in the online vote, 41 points, a high mark of 2 from North Macedonia's jury. The other point came from Spain, who've clearly got a bit of sense about them. So there was nothing much happening on stage. Yes, there was a little bit of a smoke machine, sparkly dress, the blonde hair, the mountain on the backdrop, and it builds up and builds up. I use that word soaring again because it really does feel like this soaring melody, and she was hitting those notes and she sounded really fantastic, and I was so hoping this was going to do well, but it wasn't to be. The crowd, yes, admittedly barely 1,000 people in that venue in Tbilisi last weekend, but the crowd were dead. For so many of these performances, they couldn't have been less interested in this particular track. Barely any cheers, and I don't know what was going on there, but this should have fared a lot better, and it's still one of my favourites of the year. Moving on to the Netherlands, well, this is still one of my favourites of the year too, but I was left feeling fairly underwhelmed here. Meadow with Freeze, 10th place, 93 points, 10th in the jury vote, 47 points, 13th in the online vote, thought it would do a little bit better myself, 46 points, a high mark of 7 from Armenia's jury, Ukraine's jury, and Spain's jury. So there she was with her dancers. They had numbers on their tops. They went for a sort of white and grey and silver looking attire. The lighting was predominantly blue. There were on-screen effects when they froze. You'll know what I'm on about if you've seen the live performance. And we had freeze written on the backdrop as well. There was rugby in the postcard, which seemed odd to me. That's a little thing that I picked up on. We had some on-screen effects, yes indeed, some choreo, lacking a little sparkle. I don't know if there was a revamp between the original studio version and the version we had last Saturday night, but it felt a little bit off to me. And I have to say, I'm not really going to be going back to the live performance too much. The studio version is far stronger in my opinion. There was a bit of a dance break, some pyro at the end as well. It needed more punch, absolutely. It was just lacking for me. And for a fairly modern-sounding Junior Eurovision effort, I think most people were left fairly lukewarm, which reminds me, I've got to finish this tea. Moving on to Poland. This was Mariana Kłos. Apologies for any mispronunciations. And this was Brightest Light. And this received a high mark of 8 from the Spanish, Georgian and Cypriot juries, although was blanked by a few other countries. Finished 8th overall with 139 points, 7th in the jury vote 72, online vote 5th with 67. There was a big gap between 4th and 5th in the online vote. I really thought this was going to do a little better. Again, it's one of those Junior Eurovision entries that's a little bit on the generic side, no doubt about it, lyrically not doing anything groundbreaking. Mariana was there in this sort of elevated dress, projections all over her, a couple of dancers. I didn't even realise when I looked at the rehearsal footage last week, and indeed the photographs from the rehearsals, that they were going for this nautical type theme. The dancers were like mermaids, which I hadn't even realised before. Did that really do anything to this performance? Did it really add anything? Did it make any sense? Maybe, maybe not. Anyway, the performance began with a close-up of Mariana, and you could see all of these sparkles on her eyes. I thought that was quite nice. There was a bit of smoke. If anything, the verses of this song are fairly reserved, and then we have that quite emphatic, powerful chorus, which is the real selling point of this track. There was a light in her hand at one point. Don't really know what that did. And I've mentioned the dancers here as well. It's a nice song, no doubt about it. Really simple melody. And I thought she sounded pretty good, no doubt about it. But they all sounded pretty good. Moving on to North Macedonia. Well, I underestimated this one, don't really know why. When I listened to the studio version again last week, I just thought, this is nice, but is it going to stand out much? And then I saw the performance last Saturday, and I thought, yeah, this is going to be lost in the mix. But that didn't really happen. 7th overall, 141 points, 5th in the jury vote, 92, 10th in the online vote, 49. This was Nella Mancheska with Miracle, and this received a high mark of 12 from Montenegro's jury and Italy's jury. I don't have much to say about this one. White dress, smoke, again, swirling star patterns on the backdrop, and at one point as the camera was on her, she was sort of smiling, which I just thought was really nice to see. It's so great at Junior Eurovision when you can see that these young artists are enjoying themselves on stage. They're having fun. They're feeling good about themselves. That's really nice to see. Certainly, I thought she sang well. I know I'm repeating myself here. The song is so-so for me. I'm reading from this document, but credit to her because she did a fine job. At one point, her face was visible on the backdrop, and the wind machine also kicked in. Maybe I just need to listen to this a few more times to really appreciate it. It's not bad. It's not one of my favourites at all, and I was quite a way off with my prediction. Not that that really matters. Moving on to Montenegro. Yeah, I don't know. This would have been better suited for the adult competition, I think. I have written here that she was lying down at the start, all quite dramatic. We had drawings and sketches on the screens behind her. A rather grown-up effort, and at one point the camera panned around her and we had this slightly blurry on-screen effect. This finished 17th, 49 points. 16th with the juries, 10 points, that's it. 17th in the online vote, 39 points. This received a high mark of 6 from North Macedonia's jury. It is Asja Jogovic with I tužna I srećna priča, which means a happy and sad story, something like that. I've nothing else to add. Quite powerful, quite nicely done, but honestly, I think people forgot about it fairly quickly, I'm afraid to say. Then we have Italy. This livened up proceedings a tiny bit. Rockstar by Leonardo Giovanangeli. Bit of a showman figure in many ways. Seemed to be having a great time on stage. On top of this cage, dancers, fire. This was 12th with 73 points. 14th in the jury vote, 26. And joint 11th in the online vote, 47. A high mark of 12 from Azerbaijan's jury. Goodness gracious me. We had red lighting, dancers, cage on stage, bit of rapping. The whole thing is fairly disjointed. But now that I've listened to it a few times, I really don't mind it. I can absolutely tolerate it. It's all right. And I have nothing else to add. It's as simple as that. I really think I was maybe running out of steam with the notes at this point of the show. He was in a sort of black outfit, was he not? With black and yellow outfit. Yeah, it was fine. And we had lyrics from the song appearing briefly on the screens behind him as well. Moving on to Portugal. This is the underrated gem of the year. 13th place, 73 points. 12th in the jury vote, 32. Joint 15th in the online vote, 41. I thought this is going to do quite well in the online vote because in recent years we've seen Portugal do quite well in the online vote, but not to be this year. This was Inês Gonçalves with Para onde vai o amor. And this received a high mark of 6 from Ireland's jury. 7, from Albania's jury. So there we go. Just a beautiful track. It really is so tender and heartfelt and sweet and very simply executed. She was in this dress and it was quite intimately done. I'm not sure I loved the staging, truth be told, really because of that flappy plastic behind her. I don't know what that was all about. Did it really look that nice? Not really. I did see somebody's video online where they compared it to Hanna Ferm and Liamu from Melfest in Sweden a couple of years ago. They had lots of plastic flapping behind them, and it did remind me of that absolutely. It felt over very quickly, but this was just a really nice, calming effort and very, very welcome indeed. But alas, the votes did not pour in. Moving on to Spain. Wasn't too sure when I saw the rehearsal footage. Having seen the whole thing, I think it was a job well done. This was Gonzalo Piños with Erase una vez, which means once upon a time. 5th place, 152 points. Not bad. In the online vote, this was joint 8th with 54 points, so you could say slightly underperformed. 4th in the jury vote, 98, receiving a high mark of 12 from Portugal. So, one thing I will say, excuse me, about Spain at the Junior Eurovision competition is that I think they really like quite vibrant performances and energetic dancers. This seems to be a common thing with Spain, and we had that this year. He started off with the piano, wearing a brown jacket. They went for a fairy tale theme, books around him, smoke, dancers. They were having some fun. Vocally, he was really quite all right indeed, but I did have reservations based on that rehearsal footage last week, but the whole thing came together quite nicely. Bit of pyro, this circle of books as well, which looked quite cool. He was lying flat on the stage with his dancers at one point, and I don't know if anybody else noticed, but one of the dancers turned and got smacked in the head with Gonzalo's foot. Not to worry. There was a warm response from the crowd. It was all fine, and I have nothing else to add. It was quite jaunty, quite sweet, definitely likely to do quite well. 5th place in the end is about right. Moving on to Georgia. So I actually didn't see all of this performance because I had to nip out of the room quickly. But this was Anita Abgariani, representing her country on home soil, Shine Like a Star. 3rd place, 176 points. What I did see of this, and then I watched the full thing later on, I thought, wow, this is so strong. Vocally, Amazing. Get her to the adult competition sooner rather than later. 176 points, yes. Second in the jury vote, 121, and seventh in the online vote, 55. I'm not surprised by that. We have seen Georgia not do as well in the online vote as perhaps expected a few times in the past. I remember the last time Georgia hosted, they finished second, but that was mainly because they were so low down in the public half of the results. Had they finished any higher, they would have won again, and Russia would have finished second. But anyway, this was so powerful. White dress, stars, dancers, backing singers, whatever, banging drums, clearly could win. You had that wide shot with the fire and where the instrumentation goes a bit more sparse and it's just the drums, bang, bang. Easily could have won in another year. Easily could have won this year. It just wasn't to be. But this was a really stellar effort. Absolutely. Very professionally done. Then we have Cyprus. This fell massively flat after the host nation, and then you had France on afterwards. This was Rafaela and Christos with Away, 16th place, 50 points. Little bit disappointing, but as expected. Last in the jury vote, which I did predict, I believe, 3 points. That was it. Joint 11th in the online vote, 47. Cyprus received 2 from Azerbaijan's jury, and the other point came from San Marino's jury. Don't have much to say about this one whatsoever. They seemed quite happy to be there. Casual, silver outfits. Not much happening on stage at all. Purple and orange lighting, lots of swirling patterns on the backdrop. The song itself, like with Italy's, fairly disjointed, it must be said. At one point, it's like you're at the circus. That's what it sounded like at the start. Sweet, but forgettable. And, again, the crowd was fairly dead for this one. We'll leave France and focus on Albania. This is what Junior Eurovision is all about. And I'm not bashing France at all here, but I think a lot more people would have been thrilled with an Albanian win. Because this just felt like Junior Eurovision. This was Fruta Perim, Fruit Vegetables by Kroni Pula, 6th place. Pretty good for Albania. 145 points. This was 8th in the jury vote, 60. 4th in the online vote, 85, a high mark of 12 from France's jury. So what have I got to say about this one? All credit to Kroni, because she was going for this. She was having a blast. She was really happy to be there. A couple of dancers. She was in a white dress with this red patterned corset type thing. The backdrop, there was a lot going on, but it was very, very colourful. Such a vibrant, sort of lucid-looking performance. Very Junior, I've written here. Repetitive towards the end, but a lot of fun and should get a lot of love, a lot of points, and so it came to be. Really, really nice. A bit of a grower, certainly. And I'm glad this did as well as it did, because it really did stand out a mile in a year where there's a lot of ballads. That leaves France. Well, what is there to say about this one? France winning for the 4th time in 6 competitions, is it? 6 contests? That really is quite extraordinary, and they could have won a few more times in that time frame as well. This was Lou Deleuze, who is already making a name for herself. She's been in movies, so she's not starting off as a complete sort of from-scratch amateur. You know, she does have a little bit of experience behind her. She's only 11. She's released songs, cover songs, this, that and the other. She's been in films. She's appeared on TV. Okay, not a great deal. She's already won an award for Best Actress. So, yeah, she's probably going to go on and have a pretty stellar career. Simond, which means this world, the comfortable winner. And you can thank the juries, really, for that. 152 points, winning the jury vote, 2nd in the online vote, 96, and, of course, top 248, receiving a high mark of 12 from many juries. The lowest mark was 1 from Malta, who said, schmaltzy, not for us. So what have I got to say about this one? Very much in the mould of Voila, Barbara Pravi. Barbara Pravi has co-written Junior Eurovision winning entries, of course. It started off in black and white, if I remember correctly, but she was wearing this sort of dark red wine coloured dress, beret, little bit of smoke on this little podium. Pure jury bait, it really was. It felt very mature, very grown up, which is fine, but do kids really listen to this stuff? I don't know. Is an 8-year-old child going to prefer Simond or Fruta Perim? I don't know. Based on what we had on Saturday night, any young person watching most of them probably looks like they did prefer Simone over Fruta Parim. Anyway, it was beautifully done, vocally great. That last note, really the winning selling point right there. We had flowers on the stage floor, poppies I think it was, towards the end. That was quite nice. And that's really all I've got to say about it. It might be my favourite of the year, truth be told. It was so well done. Just after it finished, I thought, that was a great performance. Really nailed it. Credit where credit is due. She sounded great. And there she was in the green room at the end. And you may well have seen my reaction video to the results as they were coming in. And it was so clear that she was going to win. And I thought, get up and celebrate, girl. You've done it. You know, take your beret off. Have a party. And then she just burst into tears. And it was quite a sweet moment. But, you know, France winning again, I think a lot of people are maybe a bit underwhelmed by this. But if anything, it should spur other countries on. You know, how can we stop France from winning for a 5th time next year? Well, we need to up our game. It's as simple as that. But then again, at the same time, I've been saying this for ages, you know, Junior Eurovision for many years now, it's not a problem, but it just feels like a bit of a problem, even though it's not much of a problem, is how, you know, it's the same countries every year, really. France, Armenia, Georgia, Spain, Poland, to an extent, Ukraine to an extent. You know, it's the same few countries every year that we expect to win. Portugal last year, that was refreshing. But wouldn't it be nice if next year Ireland were the favourites, North Macedonia were the favourites, Albania were the favourites, San Marino were the favourites, and actually France, you know, mid-table at best. You know, that would be a bit more interesting, perhaps. I think that would rejuvenate Junior Eurovision a little bit. And something else that's worth saying, and I don't know whether there's any truth to this or not, but how many children really watch this? Because in the crowd, where were the kids? There weren't that many. And in terms of, are children actually going online and voting? Maybe, maybe not. But I do wonder whether this is a show that a lot of children are actually watching, or whether it's more grown-ups. I don't know. I did see a comment, and I see comments like this every year. I did see something on social media last Saturday where somebody said, "Oh, you've got to question grown-ups watching Junior Eurovision. What's that all about?" And I'm just like, let people enjoy what they want to enjoy. You know, some of these Junior Eurovision artists are going to be in the adult competition potentially in the future, and also some of these songs are really damn good. Let people enjoy what they want to enjoy. There's nothing wrong with it in my opinion. You know, Junior Eurovision started when I was 10. I've sort of grown up with it a little bit, and although my interest in it is not large, and I'm a lot more relaxed about it, and I don't follow it year round necessarily, you know, there are some good songs, and certainly some Junior Eurovision songs from long ago I still listen to every now and then. I don't think there's anything wrong with it. Just let people enjoy what they want to enjoy. That's what I say. Anyway, I'm starting to ramble. It's time to wrap this video up. There really is not much else to say. It looks as though it could be Paris 2026, but then again, the French broadcaster, maybe they will pass the baton to somebody else, as they did a few years ago when they let Spain host instead, or rather they just said no thanks and Spain were chosen instead because they were the runners-up, or whatever it was. I know San Marino want to host at some point, so that could be quite interesting. Anyway, that is it pretty much for Junior Eurovision content on my channel for a long time. I will be turning my attention now back to the absolute crap fest that is the adult competition. It might be a What We Know So Far video, the next video that I film. I'm not entirely sure yet. One thing's for sure, there won't be many more videos from me moving forwards this year. And then I'll have to think very carefully as we move into 2026 about future content. But until next time, thank you very much for watching this. Indeed, if you've stuck with me for over half an hour, take care of yourselves, stay safe, and bye for now.